The gray mare skidded to a halt on the rise, dust swirling like smoke around her legs. Ironwood Ranch lay below in the hammer of the Texas sun. But something was wrong. Clothes hung on a line between the fence posts, a white shirt, a woman's calico apron, small handkerchiefs fluttering wildly in the hot wind. His father had been dead for a month, cold in the ground. Yet someone was doing laundry on a dead man's porch. He swung down, boots thudding hard into the dirt, hand already resting on the knife at his belt. The porch boards creaked beneath his weight. The front door stood open just a crack. From inside came the rich, impossible scent of coffee and lye soap, the exact smell of the home he had fled 34 years ago. A woman stepped into the doorway. Dark hair, steady blue-gray eyes. She looked at him without fear or surprise. "You're late," she said. The Texas sun beat down on the trail like a hammer on an anvil, relentless, unforgiving. Silas Harding pulled his hat lower over his eyes. His horse, a gray mare named Ash, picked her way through the scrub brush with the tired patience of an animal that had crossed too many miles. 34 years. That's how long it had been since he'd ridden this road, since he'd seen the mesquite trees bent sideways by the wind, since he'd smelled the particular dust of South Texas, dry and ancient and somehow familiar even now. He was 9 years old the last time, a boy in boots too big for his feet, sitting beside his father in a wagon that creaked with every turn of the wheel. His father hadn't said much that day, just, "You're going to live with your Aunt Jane now, and Santa Fe will be better for you." And finally, "Don't look back, boy. Looking back only makes it hurt worse." So Silas hadn't looked back. Not that day. Not for 34 years. Until now. 3 weeks ago, a telegram came. His father was dead. The ranch was his. That's all he needed to know. His father was dead. The man who had sent him away, who had promised to write but never did, who had become a ghost long before his body stopped breathing. And now Silas was riding south to bury that ghost. Or sell it. Whichever came first. The ranch appeared on the horizon just after midday. Ironwood Ranch. 640 acres of hard Texas dirt. Cattle country, drought country. Country that broke men who weren't careful. Silas reined Ash to a stop at the top of a low rise. From here he could see the whole spread. The main house cedar plank walls weathered to silver. The barn roof sagging on one side but still standing. The oak tree. God, the oak tree was still there. Bigger now. Ancient and gnarled and casting a pool of shadow so deep it looked like a hole in the ground. He remembered climbing that tree. Remembered his mother sitting beneath it with her sewing. Remembered his father standing under it the morning they left. Not moving. Not waving. Just watching. Until the wagon disappeared around the bend. Silas urged Ash forward, down the slope, across the dry creek bed, up to the gate. And that's when he saw them. The clothes, hanging on a line strung between two fence posts. A white shirt, a canvas apron, a row of small handkerchiefs fluttering in the breeze like flags. Silas's heart kicked hard against his ribs. His father had been dead for a month. The lawyer's telegram had said so. So who the hell was doing laundry? He dismounted slowly, tied Ash to the gatepost, walked toward the house with his hand resting on the knife at his belt. Not that he expected trouble. But 34 years in the mountains had taught him to expect the unexpected. The porch boards creaked under his boots, loud in the quiet. The front door was open, just a crack. And from inside came a smell that hit him like a fist to the chest. Coffee, wood smoke, lye soap, the exact smell of his childhood. He knocked. 3 sharp raps. No answer. He knocked again, harder this time. And then he heard footsteps. Not hurried, not alarmed, just steady. The kind of footsteps that belonged to someone who had every right to be there. The door swung open, and a woman looked out at him. She was maybe 35, dark hair pulled back in a knot, a simple calico dress the color of faded indigo, an apron tied at her waist, dirt smudged on her hands. Her eyes were the clearest thing about her, blue-gray, like the sky before a storm. She didn't gasp, didn't ask who he was. She just looked at him for a long moment, then said, "You're late." Silas blinked. "Excuse me." "You're late," she repeated. "Josiah said you'd come, but I expected you 2 weeks ago." He stared at her. "You knew I was coming?" "Of course I knew." She stepped aside, gestured into the house. "You going to stand there all day, or are you coming in?" Silas hesitated, which was stupid. This was his house, legally, according to the telegram. But it didn't feel like his house. It felt like hers. He stepped over the threshold. The interior was exactly as he remembered it, and nothing like he remembered it. The same stone fireplace, the same rough-hewn table, the same narrow staircase leading up to the loft, but everything was cared for. The floors were swept, the windows were clean, there were wildflowers in a jar on the table, a quilt folded over the back of a chair. This wasn't the house of a dead man. This was the house of someone who was very much alive. The woman walked past him into the kitchen, started pouring coffee from a pot on the stove. Silas followed, slowly, like a man walking into a dream he wasn't sure he wanted to wake from. "Who are you?" he asked. She handed him a tin cup. "Evangeline Brennan. Most people call me Eva." "And what are you doing in my father's house?" "I live here." Silas felt a flicker of anger. "Since when?" "Since 2 years ago." She poured herself a cup, took a sip. "Josiah took me in, gave me work, gave me a place to stay." "Why?" Eva looked at him over the rim of her cup. "Because I needed it." There was a long silence. Silas drank his coffee. It was strong, bitter, exactly the way his father used to make it. He hated that he noticed. "You a relative?" he asked. "No." "A friend." Eva's mouth twitched, almost a smile, but not quite. "You could say that." Silas set his cup down harder than he meant to. "Look, I don't know what arrangement you had with my father, but he's dead now, and this place is mine, legally, according to the will." "I know." So you're here to sell it?" It wasn't a question. Silas frowned. "How did you—" "Josiah told me." Eva refilled her cup, calm as anything. "He said when you came back you'd want to sell, that you'd stayed away so long you wouldn't see any reason to stay now." He was right. Was he? Yes. Eva looked at him, really looked at him, and Silas had the uncomfortable feeling that she was seeing more than he wanted her to. "You look like him," she said quietly. "I don't." "You do. Same jaw. Same way of standing like you're ready to bolt any second." Silas's hand tightened on his cup. "I'm not bolting. I'm just running away. I'm not running away. I'm going back to my life, in Colorado, where I've been for 34 years. Alone." The word hung in the air. Silas didn't answer, because the answer was yes, and he didn't want to say it out loud. Eva set her cup down, wiped her hands on her apron. "There's something I'm supposed to give you." She walked to a small chest in the corner, opened it, pulled out a wooden box, plain, unvarnished, with a simple latch. She handed it to Silas. "Josiah said to give this to you when you came, said not to open it before then." Silas took the box. It was heavier than it looked. "What's in it?" "I don't know. I didn't open it." "Why not?" "Because it wasn't mine to open." Silas looked down at the box, at the latch, at the worn wood. Part of him wanted to throw it in the fire. The other part wanted to rip it open right there. He did neither, just held it. "Thank you," he said stiffly. Eva nodded. "There's stew on the stove, and bread. You're welcome to stay for supper." "I'm not staying, I know." She smiled, sad. "But you have to eat something, and your horse needs rest." Silas looked out the window. Ash was tied to the post, head down, exhausted. He sighed. One night, Eva agreed. That night, Silas sat on the porch, the box in his lap, unopened. The sky was dark now, no moon, just stars. Thousands of them, more than he ever saw in the mountains. Out here, the sky went on forever. He could hear Eva inside, moving around, cleaning up from supper. She'd made stew, beef and potatoes and carrots. It had tasted exactly like his mother's, which was impossible, because his mother had been dead for 36 years. Silas ran his thumb over the latch of the box. "Just open it. Get it over with. See whatever it is and move on." He flipped the latch, lifted the lid. Inside were 3 things: a letter, a photograph, and a silver necklace. The photograph was old, daguerreotype, the kind that cost a fortune to make. It showed a man and a woman standing in front of this very house. The man was his father, younger, maybe 40, smiling. Silas had never seen his father smile. The woman beside him was dark-haired, pretty, holding a little girl by the hand. The girl was maybe 4 years old. Big eyes, serious expression. On the back of the photograph in his father's cramped handwriting, Sarah and Lily, 1851. Silas frowned. He didn't know anyone named Sarah, or Lily. He picked up the necklace, silver chain, small pendant, engraved with a single letter L. And then he unfolded the letter. The handwriting was shaky. His father's hand had never been steady, but this was worse. The writing of a man who was sick, or dying, or both. Silas, if you're reading this, I'm dead, and you came back. I wasn't sure you would. Can't say I'd blame you if you didn't. There's things I need to tell you, things I should have said a long time ago, but I was a coward, and by the time I found the courage, it was too late. You were 9 years old when I sent you away. You probably don't remember much, but I remember everything. You were sick, scarlet fever. The doctor said if you stayed in Texas, you'd die. The damp air, the heat, it was killing you. Your Aunt Jane in Santa Fe, she had money, a good house, dry air. The doctor said if you went there, you'd have a chance. So I sent you. Jane agreed to take you, but only if I promised not to contact you for 10 years. She said it would be easier for you to forget me, to start fresh. I agreed, because I wanted you to live. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me for that, but I need you to know I didn't send you away because I didn't want you. I sent you away because I loved you too much to watch you die. The woman in the photograph, Sarah Mitchell, she worked here after your mother died. We cared for each other. The girl is her daughter, Lily. Sarah died in 1851. Consumption. Lily was 6 years old. I took her in, raised her as my own. But Lily ran away when she was 12. I looked for her for 30 years, hired detectives, searched every town between here and Mexico. I never found her. The woman living in this house now, Evangeline Brennan, she came to me 2 years ago. Her husband had died. She had no family, no money, no reason to keep living. I found her on the bridge outside town, about to jump. I brought her here, gave her work, gave her a home. And Silas, I gave her what I couldn't give you, or Lily, a second chance. I'm asking you to do the same. This ranch is yours, legally, but Eva has nowhere else to go. If you sell this place, you'll be sending her away the same way I sent you. Don't make my mistake, son. Let her stay. And maybe if you can forgive an old man who loved you the only way he knew how, your father, Josiah Harding. Silas sat there for a long time, the letter in his hands, the words blurring in the starlight. His father had another child, a daughter, who ran away, who was never found. And then he'd saved a woman who wasn't his daughter, but might as well have been. Silas's throat felt tight. His chest ached. He folded the letter, put it back in the box, closed the lid, and sat there, staring at nothing. Inside the house, Eva was washing dishes. She didn't look up when Silas came in, just kept scrubbing. "You read it," she said, not a question. "Yes." "And," Silas set the box on the table. "He said you have nowhere to go." Eva's hands stilled in the water. "That's true. He said if I sell this place, I'd be sending you away." "Also true. He said you were like a daughter to him." Eva turned, looked at him. Her eyes were wet, but she didn't cry. "He never said that to me. He wrote it." "I know. He told me he wrote you a letter, but he never told me what was in it." Silas pulled out a chair, sat down, suddenly exhausted. "Who was Lily?" Eva dried her hands, sat across from him. "Lily was Josiah's adopted daughter, Sarah Mitchell's child. She ran away in 1863. Josiah looked for her until the day he died." "Did he think you were her?" "No." Eva shook her head. "I'm not Lily. I'm just someone he saved. Because he couldn't save her." "Why didn't he tell me about her?" "Because you were already gone, and he didn't want to burden you with his failures." Silas laughed, a bitter sound. "He thought sending me away was a failure. He thought losing both his children was a failure." The words landed hard. Both his children. Silas looked at Eva, really looked at her. Dark hair, blue-gray eyes, dirt under her nails from working the land. She wasn't his sister, but she might as well have been. "How long were you with him?" Silas asked. 2 years. "And he never told you about me?" Eva smiled, sad. "He talked about you all the time. He just never thought you'd come back." That night, Silas slept in his old room. The bed was the same. The window looked out on the same stars. But nothing felt the same. He dreamed of a boy on a wagon, riding away, never looking back, and a man standing under an oak tree, watching, waiting, for 34 years. The next morning, Silas woke to the smell of coffee, and bacon, and bread. He came downstairs to find Eva at the stove. She didn't turn around, just said, "There's a man coming today. Lawyer. Name's Ambrose Fletcher. Josiah's estate needs settling." Silas poured himself coffee. "I know. I got the telegram. He'll want you to sign papers. Transfer the deed." "I know." Eva turned, looked at him. "What are you going to do?" Silas took a sip. Bitter, strong, perfect. "I don't know yet." Ambrose Fletcher arrived at noon, riding a black gelding, carrying a leather satchel. He was 55, thin, wearing a suit that had seen better days, but his eyes were sharp. He dismounted, shook Silas's hand. "Mr. Harding, I'm sorry for your loss." "Thank you. Shall we go inside?" They sat at the table. Eva brought coffee, then disappeared outside, giving them privacy. Ambrose opened his satchel, pulled out a stack of papers. "Your father's will is straightforward. He left everything to you. The land, the house, the livestock, all 640 acres. Silas nodded. "And the debts?" Ambrose's expression flickered. "There is one debt, owed to Cedarwood Bank, $3,800. Silas's eyebrows rose. "That's a lot of money." "Yes." "What was it for?" Ambrose hesitated. "Then, your father took out the loan 10 years ago. He used it to hire private detectives." "Detectives?" "Yes, to find you." The words hit like a punch. Silas set his cup down, carefully. "To find me." "Yes. You'd been gone for over 20 years at that point. Josiah wanted to know if you were alive, if you were well, if you ever thought about coming home." Silas's throat tightened. "He found me." "I know. In 1875, Colorado. The detective sent a report. Josiah read it, and then he called off the search." "Why?" "Because the report said you were doing well, that you'd built a life, and Josiah didn't want to disrupt it." Silas stared at the papers. His father had spent $3,800 just to know if his son was alive, and then didn't even contact him, because he didn't want to be a burden. Silas wanted to scream, or cry, or both. Instead, he just said, "When is the debt due?" 90 days from today. If it's not paid, the bank will foreclose. "And if I sell the ranch?" "You'd have enough to pay the debt and walk away with a profit. The land is worth about $8,000, maybe more." Silas nodded slowly. "And Eva," Ambrose's expression softened. "Your father left a codicil. Eva has the right to live here for as long as she wants, whether you sell or not. So she can't be forced out." "No. But if I sell, she'd be living on someone else's land." "Yes." Silas leaned back, rubbed his face. "How long do I have to decide? Technically, you can sign the deed over today, or you can wait, but the debt clock is ticking. 90 days. "All right." Ambrose pushed the papers across the table. "I'll need your signature here, to acknowledge receipt of the will. The rest selling, keeping, paying the debt, that's up to you." Silas signed. Ambrose gathered the papers, stood. "Your father was a good man, Mr. Harding. He made mistakes, but he loved you." Silas didn't answer. Couldn't. Ambrose tipped his hat and left. Silas sat at the table for a long time. The house was quiet. Eva was outside, working in the garden. He could see her through the window, moving with the easy rhythm of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. She looked at home, which made sense, because this was her home, had been for 2 years, longer than Silas had ever lived here. He stood, walked outside. Eva looked up. "How did it go?" "Fine, I signed the papers." "Are you leaving?" Silas looked at her. At the laundry line, at the clothes fluttering in the breeze, at the oak tree, at the house, at everything his father had built and left behind. "I don't know," he said. And for the first time in 34 years, he meant it. That afternoon, Silas walked the property. Alone. He needed to think, and he thought best when he was moving. The land was dry, hard-packed dirt, scrub brush, a few mesquite trees bent by the wind. Not beautiful, not in the way the mountains were beautiful, but there was something about it, something stubborn. The fence line was in decent shape. Someone had been maintaining it. Eva, probably. Or maybe his father before he died. There were cattle in the south pasture, maybe 20 head. Thin, but alive. Silas counted them out of habit. The barn was in worse shape than the house. Roof sagging, one wall leaning, but fixable, if someone cared enough to fix it. He walked all the way to the back of the property, where the land sloped up into a low ridge. From here he could see the whole ranch, the house, the barn, the oak tree, the laundry line. Eva was still there, a small figure in a dark dress, working, always working. Silas sat down on a flat rock, pulled out his tobacco pouch, rolled a cigarette, lit it, and just sat. He'd been gone 34 years. 34 years of mountains and snow and silence, of trapping beaver and hunting elk, of winters so cold his breath froze in his beard, of summers so short he barely noticed them. He'd built a life, a good life, hadn't he? He had a cabin, supplies, a horse, a rifle, everything a man needed. Except, he couldn't finish the thought, because the answer was too big, too honest, too terrifying, except he was alone. And he'd been alone for so long he'd forgotten what it felt like to be anything else. Until now. Until he'd walked into that house, and smelled coffee, and seen laundry on the line, and met a woman who looked at him like she knew exactly what he was thinking, even when he didn't. When Silas came back to the house, the sun was low. Eva was inside, cooking. The smell of onions and meat filled the air. "You hungry?" she asked without turning around. "Yes." "Good. Supper's almost ready." Silas washed his hands at the pump, sat at the table, watched her work. She moved with the kind of efficiency that came from practice. Chopping, stirring, tasting, adding salt. She didn't ask him what he'd been doing, didn't ask if he'd made a decision, just cooked. And somehow that made it easier. After a few minutes, she set a plate in front of him. Beef stew, thick and dark, with chunks of potato and carrot. She sat across from him with her own plate. They ate in silence. It wasn't uncomfortable, just quiet. Finally, Eva said, "You walked the whole property. How did you know? You've got dust on your boots, and you smell like mesquite." Silas almost smiled. "I wanted to see it." "What did you think?" "It's smaller than I remember." "Things always are." He looked at her. "You sound like my father." Eva's expression softened. He used to say that, about the past. Said it was always bigger in memory than it was in life. He was right. He usually was. Silas set his fork down. "Tell me about him. The last few years." Eva took a sip of water, thought for a moment. Then, "He was lonely. That's the first thing you need to know. He worked hard, kept the place running. But he was lonely." "Did he talk about me?" "All the time." "What did he say?" "That you were strong, stubborn, smart, that you'd make something of yourself." Did he regret sending me away?" Eva looked at him, straight in the eye. Every single day. After supper they sat on the porch. The sky was fading from blue to purple, stars beginning to appear. Eva had brought out 2 tin cups of coffee. They sat in the old rocking chairs, the same ones that had been there when Silas was a boy. "Can I ask you something?" Silas said. "Of course." "Why did you stay after my father died? You could have left, gone anywhere." Eva was quiet for a long time. Then, "Where would I go? Somewhere? Anywhere. To do what I have no money, no family, no skills except farming and cooking." "You could have remarried." Eva laughed. A short, sharp sound. "I was married once. That was enough." Silas glanced at her. "You didn't love him." "I did, very much. But love doesn't pay the bills, or keep you alive when fever takes hold." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. Michael was a good man. He just wasn't strong enough. And neither was I." "But you're strong now." Eva looked at him. "Am I?" "You're still here." "So are you." Silas didn't have an answer for that. That night Silas couldn't sleep. He lay in his old bed, staring at the ceiling. The house creaked. The wind rattled the shutters. Somewhere outside a coyote howled. All sounds he used to know, used to find comforting. Now they just felt strange, like a language he'd forgotten how to speak. He got up, pulled on his boots, walked downstairs. The house was dark, but there was a light coming from the kitchen. He found Eva sitting at the table, a lantern burning low, a stack of letters in front of her. She looked up when he came in. "Can't sleep either?" she asked. "No." "Coffee?" "Sure." She poured him a cup from the pot on the stove, still hot, like she'd been up for a while. Silas sat across from her, nodded at the letters. "What are those?" Eva hesitated. "Then, letters your father wrote. To you, over the years." Silas's stomach tightened. "He wrote me letters. Yes, hundreds of them. But he never sent them. Why not? Because your aunt made him promise not to contact you for 10 years, and by the time the 10 years were up, he didn't know how to start. Silas reached out, touched the top letter. The paper was old, yellowed. Can I read them? They're yours. He picked up the first one. The handwriting was his father's, but younger, steadier. Dear Silas, you've been gone 3 months now. Jane sent a letter saying you're doing well, eating better, sleeping through the night. I'm glad. I miss you. The house is too quiet without you. Your father, Silas, set it down. Picked up another. Dear Silas, you're 12 now. I wonder if you're tall, if your voice has changed, if you remember me at all. I saw a boy in town today who looked like you. Same hair, same way of walking. It wasn't you, but I wanted it to be. And another. Dear Silas, I hired a detective today. He's going to find you. Make sure you're all right. I know I promised not to contact you, but I need to know you're alive. I need to know I didn't make a mistake. And another. Dear Silas, the detective found you. You're in Colorado, working as a trapper. You look strong, healthy, you look happy. I won't bother you. I just needed to see. Silas's hands were shaking. He set the letters down. How many are there? 214. Jesus. Eva reached across the table, touched his hand, gentle. He loved you, Silas. He just didn't know how to show it. Silas's throat was tight, his eyes were burning. But he didn't cry. He never cried, not even when his mother died, not even when he thought his father had abandoned him. But now he wanted to. The next morning Silas woke late. The sun was already high. He came downstairs to find Eva gone, a note on the table. Gone to town for supplies, back by afternoon. Silas made coffee, sat on the porch, watched the sun climb higher. The ranch was quiet, peaceful. He could hear birds, the wind, the distant lowing of cattle. For the first time in 34 years. He didn't feel the urge to leave, which terrified him. Around midday a rider appeared on the horizon. Silas stood, hand on his knife, out of habit. The rider came closer. A man, maybe 30 years old, well-dressed, riding a fine chestnut horse. He reined up at the gate, tipped his hat. You must be Silas Harding. I am. Marcus Redfield. The man dismounted, extended his hand. Silas shook it, wary. What can I do for you, Mr. Redfield? Marcus smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I'm here to make you an offer, on your land. Silas didn't move, just stood there, hand still on his knife. I'm not selling. Marcus's smile widened. You haven't even heard my offer. Don't need to. $10,000. The number hung in the air. Silas blinked. 10,000. Cash. Today. I have a bank draft in my pocket. Silas studied the man. Expensive suit, clean hands. The kind of man who'd never worked a day in his life. Why? Silas asked. Why what? Why do you want this land? Marcus shrugged. I'm expanding my cattle operation. Your land borders mine. It's a good fit. There's other land. Not like this. Silas crossed his arms. What's your real reason? Marcus's smile faded. Just a little. My real reason is business, Mr. Harding. Nothing more. Then why are you offering twice what it's worth? Who says it's not worth 10,000? The lawyer who read me the will yesterday. Marcus's jaw tightened. Fine. You want the truth? This land belonged to my family, 20 years ago. Your father took it from us. Silas frowned. How? He testified against my father in court, said he'd seen him do things, bad things. My father was hanged, and his land, this land was sold. Your father bought it. What kind of bad things? Marcus's eyes went cold. Murder, theft, fraud, all lies. Were they? Of course they were. Silas didn't believe him, but he didn't say so. Even if that's true, even if my father took this land unfairly, it's mine now, legally, and I'm not selling. Marcus stepped closer. You're making a mistake. Maybe. But it's my mistake to make. You don't even want this place. You've been gone 34 years. What are you going to do? Play rancher? I don't know. Then take the money, go back to Colorado, live your life. No. Marcus's face flushed. You're a fool. Probably. You'll regret this. Maybe. Marcus stared at him for a long moment. Then he turned, mounted his horse. 90 days, Harding. That's when your father's debt comes due. If you can't pay, the bank will take this place, and I'll buy it from them, for a lot less than 10,000. He spurred his horse and rode off. Silas watched him go, then looked down at his hands. They were shaking, not from fear, from rage. When Eva came back that afternoon, Silas was splitting wood. Hard, fast, like he was trying to kill something. She set down her basket of supplies, watched him for a moment. What happened? Nothing. Liar. Silas buried the axe in the stump, turned to face her. Marcus Redfield came by. Eva's face went pale. What did he want? To buy the ranch. Offered $10,000. What did you say? I said no. Eva stared at him. Why? Because he's lying about why he wants it. Of course he's lying. The Redfields have been trying to get this land back for 20 years. Why? Eva picked up the basket, started walking toward the house. Come inside, I'll tell you. They sat at the table. Eva made tea, which surprised Silas. He didn't know she had tea. Marcus's father was Jonathan Redfield, Eva began. He was a rancher, a big one, owned half the county, but he was also a thief and a killer. My father testified against him. Yes, in 1865. There'd been a string of murders. Families killed in their homes, land stolen, cattle rustled. The law couldn't prove who did it, until Josiah saw something. What? Jonathan Redfield burying bodies on land that didn't belong to him. Silas's stomach turned. Jesus. Josiah went to the sheriff, testified in court. Jonathan was hanged, and his land was seized. Josiah bought this parcel at auction, fair and square. And Marcus wants it back. Yes, he's been trying to buy it for years, but Josiah always refused. Why? Because he knew what Marcus would do with it. What? Eva looked at him. Destroy it, plow it under, build something big and ugly and profitable. Josiah didn't want that. Silas leaned back. And now it's mine. Yes. And I have 90 days to figure out what to do with it. Yes. Silas rubbed his face. I don't know if I can do this, Eva. Do what? Stay here. Run a ranch. Be the man my father wanted me to be. Eva reached across the table, took his hand. You don't have to be your father, Silas. You just have to be you. What if that's not enough? It will be. That night, Silas sat on the porch again, the box from his father beside him. He'd read the letter a dozen times now, memorized every word, but he kept reading it, because it was the only conversation he'd ever have with his father, and he didn't want it to end. Eva came out, sat in the other chair. You're thinking too hard. Probably. What are you going to do? Silas looked at her. I don't know, but I'm not leaving. Not yet. Eva smiled. Good. Why good? Because the chickens need feeding, and I'm tired of doing it alone. Silas laughed. A real laugh. The first one in weeks, maybe months. All right, I'll feed the damn chickens. Thank you. They sat in silence for a while. Then Eva said, He would be proud of you. Who? Josiah. Silas's throat tightened. I doubt that. I don't. Why? Because you came back. That's all he ever wanted. Silas looked out at the land, at the darkness, at the stars, at the oak tree standing watch. Eva stood, touched his shoulder, gentle. Good night, Silas. Good night. She went inside, and Silas sat there, alone, but not lonely, for the first time in 34 years. The first week passed like water through a sieve. Quick, unremarkable, necessary. Silas worked, because that's what he knew how to do. He fixed the fence on the north pasture, replaced 3 rotted posts, restrung the wire. His hands remembered the work even though his mind had forgotten. Muscle memory. Which was strange, because he'd spent 34 years in mountains that didn't have fences, only trees, and snow, and silence. But here there was wind, and dust, and Eva, always Eva, working alongside him, quiet, efficient, never asking if he needed help, just helping. On the 3rd day, she handed him a canteen of water without a word. He drank, handed it back. Thank you. She nodded, went back to pulling weeds in the garden. He watched her for a moment, the way she moved, deliberate, careful, like someone who'd learned not to waste energy. Why do you do that? He asked. She looked up. Do what? Work so hard. This isn't your land. Eva's jaw tightened, just a fraction. It's my home. Not legally. Legally doesn't matter when you're pulling carrots, Silas. He almost smiled. Almost. Fair enough. She went back to weeding, and he went back to the fence. But something had shifted. Some small wall between them. Cracked. Not broken, but cracked. That evening they sat on the porch again. It was becoming a ritual. Supper, coffee, porch, stars. Silas wasn't sure when it had started, or why he didn't mind it. But he didn't. Eva had a basket of mending in her lap, stitching a tear in a shirt, his shirt, which he hadn't asked her to fix, but she was fixing it anyway. You don't have to do that, he said. I know. Then why are you? Because it needs doing. Silas took a sip of coffee. Bitter. Strong. Perfect. You're stubborn. So are you. Runs in the family. Eva looked up, sharp. We're not family, Silas. No, but you were his. Which makes you... something. Something. She repeated the word like she was tasting it. Testing it. Yes. Something. She went back to sewing. And Silas watched the stars. And tried not to think about how comfortable this felt, how easy, how dangerous. On the 5th day they went into town. Cedarwood. Population maybe 300. One main street, a general store, a saloon, a church, a blacksmith, and Ambrose Fletcher's law office wedged between the post office and a boarding house. Eva needed supplies. Flour, salt, sugar, thread. Silas needed ammunition. And whiskey. Not because he drank much, but because the nights were long. And the letters from his father were longer. They rode in the wagon, Silas driving, Eva sitting beside him, not talking, just sitting. The town appeared on the horizon, small, dusty, exactly like Silas remembered it, except smaller. Everything was smaller. They pulled up outside the general store. Silas helped Eva down. She didn't need the help, but he did it anyway, and she let him, which felt important somehow. Inside the store smelled like coffee and leather and sawdust. The proprietor was a woman, maybe 60. Gray hair pulled back in a severe bun. She looked up when they entered. Her eyes went straight to Silas, narrowed. Josiah's boy, not a question. Yes, ma'am. You look like him. So I've been told. The woman studied him for a long moment, then nodded. He was a good man. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. She turned to Eva. Her expression softened. Eva, darling, how are you holding up? Well enough, Mrs. Carson. You need anything? Anything at all? Just the usual supplies. Mrs. Carson nodded, started pulling items off the shelves. Silas wandered to the back of the store, found the ammunition, picked up a box of .44 cartridges, and then he heard voices, low, angry, coming from outside. He set the box down, walked to the window, and saw Marcus Redfield, standing in the street, talking to 2 men, rough-looking men, the kind who got paid to break things, or people. Silas's hand went to his knife. Instinct. Marcus gestured toward the general store. One of the men laughed. Then they split up, walked in different directions. Marcus stayed where he was, watching the store. Silas stepped back from the window, heart pounding, not from fear, from recognition. He knew what this was. Intimidation. Posturing. A message. Marcus wanted him to know he was being watched. Well, message received. When they left the store, Marcus was gone, but Silas could feel eyes on him, from somewhere. Eva must have felt it too, because she moved closer to him as they loaded the wagon, not touching, but close. You see him? Silas asked quietly. Yes. He's going to be a problem. I know. Silas climbed onto the wagon, took the reins. How long has he been doing this? Doing what? Watching? Waiting? Trying to scare you? Eva didn't answer right away. Then, 2 years. Since Josiah took me in. Silas's jaw tightened. Why didn't you tell me? Because it wasn't your problem. It is now. Eva looked at him. You're not staying, Silas. Remember, doesn't matter. While I'm here, it's my problem. She didn't argue, just climbed into the wagon beside him, and they rode home in silence. That night, Silas couldn't sleep again. He went downstairs, found Eva in the kitchen, again, with the letters, again. You read them every night? He asked. She looked up. Not all of them, just some. Why? Because they remind me he was real, that he cared, that I wasn't just charity. Silas sat down, poured himself coffee from the pot she always kept warm. "Can I read one?" Eva hesitated, then pushed the stack toward him. "Pick any." He chose one at random, unfolded it. The handwriting was shakier than the earlier letters, dated 6 months before his father died. "Dear Silas, I'm dying. The doctor says I have maybe a year, maybe less. I'm not afraid. I've lived a long life, made mistakes, but I've also done some good. I saved Eva. I wish I could have saved you, not from death, from loneliness. I see it in myself, the way I lived after you left, after your mother died, after Lily ran away. I built walls, kept people out, told myself it was easier that way. It wasn't. It was just lonely. I hope you're not lonely, son. I hope you found someone, something, anything that makes you feel less alone. If you haven't, if you're reading this and you're as alone as I was, then do me a favor. Let someone in. Just one person. It doesn't have to be forever, but it has to be real." Your father Silas set the letter down. His hands were shaking. Eva was watching him. "He knew," Silas said quietly. "Knew what?" "That I was alone. That I'd be alone." "Are you?" Silas looked at her. Really looked at her. And realized. He didn't want to lie. "Yes." Eva reached across the table, took his hand. Her skin was rough, calloused, warm. "You're not alone now." The next morning, Silas started reading all the letters. Not just one. All of them. 214. He read them in order. Chronologically. Starting from the first one his father wrote 3 months after he left, and ending with the last one, written a week before he died. It took 3 days. 3 days of sitting under the oak tree, or on the porch, or in his room at night, reading, learning, understanding. His father hadn't abandoned him. He'd mourned him, every single day, for 34 years. Letter 47, 1855. Silas turned 16 today. I wonder if Jane threw him a party. I wonder if he even remembers me. Probably not. Probably better that way. Letter 89, 1862. War came. I enlisted. Not because I believe in the cause, but because I need something to do with this rage, this guilt, Jane wrote. Said Silas is safe in Santa Fe. Thank God. Letter 134, 1870. I hired another detective. This one says he can find Lily. I don't believe him, but I'm paying him anyway, because what else can I do? I failed her. Failed you. Failed everyone. Letter 198 to 1878. I found a woman today, on the bridge, about to jump. Her name is Eva. She lost her husband, lost her hope. I brought her home, gave her work. Maybe I can save one person, even if I couldn't save the ones who mattered. And by the time Silas finished the last letter, he was crying, not loud, not dramatic, just crying. Silent tears running down his face, because he understood now. His father had loved him, in the only way he knew how, by letting him go. Eva found him on the porch, sat beside him, didn't say anything, just sat, and after a while. Silas said, I hated him for so long. I know. And he didn't deserve it. Maybe not. But he understood. How do you know? Because he told me. He said if Silas hates me, I don't blame him. I'd hate me too. Silas wiped his face. I don't hate him anymore. Good. But I don't know what to do with that. Eva stood, held out her hand. Come on, I'll show you. She led him to the back of the property, to a small rise where the land sloped up into scrub and rock. There was a grave there, simple, wooden cross, no name, just a date. 1809 to 1880. Josiah didn't want a headstone, Eva said. He said names didn't matter, only what you did. Silas knelt, touched the cross. The wood was rough, weathered. Did he suffer? No, he died in his sleep. I found him in the morning, peaceful. Silas nodded. Thank you for being with him. He wasn't alone. That's what mattered to him. Silas stayed there for a long time, just kneeling, thinking. Finally he said, I'm sorry, old man, for staying away, for not understanding, for hating you. The wind picked up, rustled the mesquite. Silas could almost hear his father's voice. Gruff, quiet. Don't apologize, boy. Just live. He stood, looked at Eva. I'm going to stay, for the 90 days, until the debt is due. Eva's eyes widened. What about Colorado? Colorado will still be there. And after 90 days? I don't know, but I owe him this. I owe him time. Eva smiled. A real smile. The first one he'd seen from her. All right, then let's get to work. The next 2 weeks were a blur. Silas and Eva worked from dawn to dusk. Fixing, mending, building. They repaired the barn roof, Silas cutting new shingles from cedar, Eva handing them up, her arms strong despite her small frame. They cleaned out the well, pulled up buckets of sludge and debris, until the water ran clear again. Cold, sweet, the best water Silas had tasted in years. They branded the cattle, 23 head, more than Silas thought. Eva held each calf steady while Silas pressed the iron. The smell of burning hair and flesh filled the air, but Eva didn't flinch, just held tight, and whispered to the animals, calming them. They planted a vegetable garden expansion. Corn, beans, squash, tomatoes. Eva showed him where to dig. How deep, how far apart. Her hands in the dirt, patient, teaching, and slowly, day by day. The ranch started to look alive. Not perfect, but cared for, which was close enough. One evening after a particularly long day, Silas found Eva sitting on the porch steps. Not in the rocking chair, on the steps, looking out at the sunset. Her shoulders slumped, exhausted. He sat beside her. You all right? She didn't answer right away. Then, I'm tired, Silas. I know. We can rest tomorrow. Not that kind of tired. He looked at her, waited. I'm tired of fighting, she said quietly, of always wondering when it's going to end, when Marcus will come back, when the bank will foreclose, when you'll leave. The last word hit him harder than he expected. I'm not leaving, not yet. But you will, eventually. Maybe. Definitely. She turned to look at him. Her eyes were wet, but she wasn't crying. You don't belong here, Silas. You belong in the mountains, alone, free, and I don't blame you for wanting to go back. What if I don't want to go back? Don't lie to me, please. Silas swallowed hard. I'm not lying. I don't know what I want anymore. Eva wiped her eyes. That's the first honest thing you've said since you got here. They sat in silence for a while, the sun sinking lower, painting the sky orange and purple and gold. Finally Eva said, Can I tell you something? Of course. I wasn't always like this, strong, independent, capable. I know. You don't. You don't know what I was before Josiah found me. Silas waited. Eva took a deep breath. My husband Michael, he was a good man, kind, gentle, but he was sick, had been for years, a weak heart. The doctors said he wouldn't live past 40. How old was he when he died? 39. Silas winced. We knew it was coming, Eva continued, but knowing doesn't make it easier. When he died, I broke. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't see a reason to keep going. So you went to the bridge? Yes, I stood there for 2 hours, looking down at the water, trying to find the courage to jump. What stopped you? Josiah. He was riding into town, saw me, stopped his horse, walked over, didn't say anything at first, just stood beside me. What did he say? Eva smiled, sad. He said, You planning to jump, or you just enjoying the view? Silas almost laughed. That sounded exactly like his father. I told him I was going to jump, and he said, All right, but can I ask you something first? What did he ask? He asked if I had any regrets, anything I wished I'd done but hadn't. And I said yes. I'd always wanted a garden, a real one, with flowers and vegetables and herbs, but Michael and I never had land, just a room above the blacksmith shop. What did my father say? He said, Well then, you can't jump yet. You've got a garden to plant. And he took my hand, led me off the bridge, brought me here, and showed me the land behind the house, said, Plant your garden. If you still want to jump after, I won't stop you. Silas's throat was tight. And you stayed. I stayed, planted the garden, waited for the seeds to sprout, and by the time they did, I didn't want to jump anymore. Eva looked at him. Your father saved my life, Silas. Not by telling me not to die, but by giving me a reason to live. Silas's eyes burned. He reached over, took her hand, and held it. And they sat there, watching the sun disappear. One evening a rider came. Old man, maybe 75, white beard down to his chest, battered hat with a hole in the brim. He dismounted slowly, like his joints hurt, like every movement was calculated. You must be Silas Harding. I am. Ezekiel Whitmore. Folks call me Zeke. They shook hands. Zeke's grip was strong, stronger than Silas expected, calloused, the hands of a man who'd worked all his life. I knew your father, fought with him in the war. Which war? The one that mattered. 1861, Virginia, Tennessee, all the bad places. Silas nodded. Come on in, we've got coffee. Zeke sat at the table. Eva poured him a cup. He took a sip, sighed. Tastes just like Josiah used to make it. Eva smiled. He taught me. Zeke looked at Silas, studied him for a long moment. Then, your father saved my life. Twice. Once in Virginia when a Reb had me pinned. Once in Tennessee when I took a bullet in the leg. Josiah carried me 3 miles to the surgeon. You don't owe me anything, Mr. Whitmore. Didn't say I owed you, I owed him, and now he's gone, so I'm settling the debt with you. How? Zeke leaned back, pulled a small flask from his coat, poured a measure into his coffee, offered it to Silas. Silas shook his head. Zeke shrugged, took a sip. Then, Marcus Redfield came to see me last week, offered me $500. Silas's blood went cold. For what? For what? To testify against you in court. To say that Josiah Harding was a liar, that he framed Jonathan Redfield, that this land was stolen. Eva gasped. Silas's fists clenched under the table. What did you tell him? Zeke smiled, grim. I told him to go to hell, and I told him if he came back I'd shoot him. Did he believe you? Don't know, don't care. But I thought you should know, because I'm not the only one he's asking. Who else? Carl Drucker, Tom Finley, maybe 3 or 4 others. Men who need money, who don't remember the truth as clearly as I do. Silas stood, paced. Can he do that? Can he reopen the case? Zeke nodded. If he has enough testimony, if he can convince a judge that the original trial was corrupt. Yes, he can reopen it. And then what? Then the land goes back to the Redfield estate, and you're out. Silas slammed his hand on the table. Coffee cups jumped. This is insane. My father told the truth. He saw Jonathan Redfield murder people, bury them. The man was a killer. I know. I was there. I saw it too. Then why isn't that enough? Zeke stood, slowly. Because the law doesn't care about truth, son. It cares about proof. And if Marcus can create reasonable doubt, he wins. How long do I have? Hard to say. Maybe a month. Maybe 2. But he's moving fast. Got a lawyer from San Antonio. Expensive one. Silas looked at Eva. She was pale, terrified. He turned back to Zeke. Will you testify if it goes to court? Damn right I will. And I'll bring every man who served with Josiah. We'll tell the truth, whether the judge believes us or not. That's up to him. Thank you. Zeke put his hat back on, walked to the door, stopped, turned. Your father was a good man, Silas, one of the best I ever knew. Don't let Marcus Redfield rewrite that. And then he was gone. That night, Silas and Eva sat in silence, the weight of Zeke's words pressing down on them. Finally, Eva said, What are we going to do? I don't know. We can't fight him. We don't have money for a lawyer. I know. And even if we did, I know, Eva, I know. She stood, walked to the window, looked out at the darkness. Maybe you should just sell. Take Marcus's offer. Walk away. No. Why not? Because this is your home. It's your home too. Is it? The question hung in the air. Silas didn't answer, because he didn't know. 3 days later, Silas was in the barn, mucking out stalls, hard work, mindless work, the kind that let him think, or not think, depending on what he needed. Today he needed not to think, because thinking led to worrying, and worrying led to the realization that he was about to lose this place, and he wasn't ready to lose it, which was terrifying, because when had he started caring? He heard footsteps behind him, turned. Eva stood in the doorway, backlit by the afternoon sun. Can we talk? She asked. Of course. She came in, sat on a barrel. Silas leaned on his pitchfork, waited. I need to tell you something, she said, about me, about why I'm really here. You already told me. I told you part of it, not all of it. Silas set the pitchfork down, sat on a bale of hay. I'm listening. Eva took a deep breath. My mother's name was Sarah Mitchell. She worked here, for Josiah, starting in 1858. I know. He wrote about her in the letters. Did he tell you they were lovers? Silas blinked. No. They were. For 7 years. From 1858 to 1865. She was married when they met. But her husband had left her, run off to California. She had a daughter. Me. I was born in 1845. So you're not Josiah's daughter? No, but he raised me like I was, after my mother died. When did she die? 1851. Consumption. I was 6 years old. Silas did the math in his head. I was 14. I would have been in Santa Fe by then. Yes. Josiah took me in, quietly. Didn't tell anyone in town. He was afraid they'd judge him. Say he'd replaced your mother too quickly. Had he? Eva smiled, sad. I don't think so. He loved your mother, deeply, but she'd been dead for 7 years, and he was lonely. What happened to Sarah? She got sick, coughed blood, lost weight. The doctor said there was nothing he could do. She died in this house, in the bedroom upstairs. Josiah held her hand until the end. Silas's throat was tight. And then he kept you. Yes, he could have sent me to an orphanage, but he didn't. He kept me, raised me, taught me to read, to work, to survive. Did you know about Lily? Eva looked up, sharp. How do you know about Lily? The letter, the photograph, the necklace. Eva reached into her dress, pulled out the silver chain, the pendant with the letter L. Lily was Josiah's daughter, his and Sarah's. She was born in 1851, the same year Sarah died. She died in childbirth. Yes, Josiah tried to save them both, but he could only save one. Lily? Yes. What happened to her? Eva's face crumpled. She ran away. When she was 12. In 1863. There was a man. He came to the ranch. Said he was Sarah's husband. The one who'd left years before. He said he had a legal right to Lily, that she was his daughter. Was she? No. She was Josiah's, but the man had papers, forged papers, and Lily. She was young, confused. She wanted to know her real father, so she went with him. And Josiah tried to stop her, but she ran. The man took her, and Josiah never saw her again. Silas felt sick. He looked for her. For 30 years, spent every dollar he had, hired detectives, searched every town, but she was gone. Do you think she's still alive? Eva's eyes filled with tears. I don't know. Josiah thought maybe she's out there, living under a different name, not knowing who she really is. Silas stood, walked to Eva, knelt in front of her. Why are you telling me this now? Because you need to know. You need to know why this land matters. Why Josiah fought so hard to keep it. It wasn't about the land, it was about Lily. He thought if he kept this place, kept it the same, maybe one day she'd come home. And now he's gone. Yes, and now it's just me, keeping the light on, just in case. Silas reached up, touched the necklace around her neck. Why did he give this to you? Because he said I was the daughter who stayed, and I deserved to have something of hers. Silas's vision blurred. He stood, pulled Eva to her feet, and hugged her, tight, for the first time since he'd arrived, and she hugged him back. And they stood there, in the barn, holding each other, and neither felt alone. That night Silas couldn't sleep. Again. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about Lily, a girl who ran away at 12, who never came home, who might be dead, or alive, or lost somewhere in between. He thought about his father, searching for her for 30 years, never giving up, even when it was hopeless. He thought about Eva, keeping the light on, waiting, just in case. And he thought about himself, running away to the mountains at 18, never looking back, never wondering if his father was searching for him too, which of course he had been. $3,800 worth of searching. Silas got up, pulled on his pants, went downstairs. The house was dark, but there was a light in the kitchen. Of course there was. Eva was always there, reading, thinking, waiting. He walked in. She looked up. Can't sleep. No. Me neither. She poured him coffee. He sat, took a sip, and then he asked this question he'd been avoiding. Do you think she's alive, Lily? Eva was quiet for a long time. Then, I want to believe she is. But you don't. I don't know. 38 years is a long time. A lot can happen. Did my father ever get close to finding her? Once, in 1875. A detective said he'd found a woman in New Mexico, about the right age, dark hair, no memory of her childhood. Silas sat up straight. What happened? Josiah rode to New Mexico. Spent 3 weeks looking for her, But by the time he got there, she was gone, moved on. No one knew where. Did he ever find out if it was really her? No. Silas set his cup down. Why didn't he tell me any of this in the letters? In anything? Because he didn't want to burden you with his failures. They weren't failures. He thought they were. Silas stood, paced. I don't understand him. I don't understand any of this. Eva stood too, walked to him, stopped him, put her hands on his chest. Your father was complicated, Silas. He loved hard, he grieved hard, and he didn't know how to let people in. Sound familiar? Silas looked at her blue-gray eyes, at the way she was looking at him, like she could see straight through him. I'm not like him. Yes, you are. I'm not. You've been alone for 34 years, Silas, just like he was. You're terrified of letting anyone close, just like he was. And you're about to run away again, just like he did. The words hit like bullets. I'm not running. Aren't you? No, I'm staying. For 90 days. I said I would. And then what? I don't know. Exactly. You don't know, because you're too scared to think about it. Silas pulled away. This isn't fair. Life isn't fair, Silas. Your father learned that. I learned that. And now you're learning it too. She turned, walked toward the stairs, stopped, didn't look back. When you figure out what you really want, let me know. And she was gone. The next morning, Silas went into town. Alone. He needed to talk to Ambrose Fletcher, needed to know exactly what they were facing. The law office was empty when he arrived. He knocked, waited. Ambrose opened the door, looking tired, rumpled, like he'd slept in his clothes. Mr. Harding, come in. They sat. Ambrose poured coffee from a pot that looked like it had been sitting there since yesterday. Silas didn't care. He drank it anyway. Marcus filed his petition, Ambrose said without preamble. The hearing is in 6 weeks. Can we win? Maybe, if we have witnesses, if we have evidence, if the judge is honest. That's a lot of ifs. Yes. What do we need? Ambrose pulled out a file, thick, stuffed with papers. We need testimony from people who were there, who saw what Jonathan Redfield did, who can verify that your father told the truth. Zeke Whitmore said he'd testify. Good. We need at least 3 more. 4 would be better. I'll find them. And we need documentation, records, anything that proves your father bought the land legally. I'll look through his papers. Ambrose nodded, then hesitated. There's something else. What? The debt. To the bank. It's due in 73 days. I know. If you can't pay it, the bank forecloses, and Marcus will buy the land at auction. All of this, the hearing, the witnesses, the evidence, it won't matter. Silas's stomach sank. How much do we have? You tell me. Silas thought. He'd been working, selling timber, doing odd jobs. Eva had been selling vegetables, taking in mending. They'd saved maybe $200, maybe. Not enough. Then you need to find a way to raise $3,600 in 73 days. How? Sell cattle, sell timber, sell anything you can. We're already doing that. Then do more. Silas stood. This is impossible. Maybe, but it's what you've got. Silas walked to the window, looked out at the dusty street, at the people going about their lives, unaware, unconcerned. What if I sold the land to someone else before Marcus can file his claim? You could, but who would buy it? Everyone in town knows Marcus wants it. No one's going to bid against him. What if I sold it to Eva? Ambrose blinked. What if I transferred the deed to Eva for $1, legal sale? Then it's not mine anymore. Marcus can't claim it. Ambrose leaned back. Thought. That might work, but Marcus would challenge it. Say it's a fraudulent transfer to avoid his claim. Is it? Technically, yes. But if Eva can prove she has a legitimate claim to the land, that she's been living here, working it, maintaining it, a judge might uphold the sale. Silas turned. Would she still owe the debt? Yes, the debt stays with the land, not the owner. So we'd still need to raise the money. Yes. Silas rubbed his face. This is a nightmare. Yes. But you think the transfer might work. It's a long shot, but it's better than nothing. Silas nodded. Draw up the papers. I'll talk to Eva. When Silas got back to the ranch, Eva was in the garden, kneeling in the dirt, pulling weeds, her hands dark with soil. He walked over, stood behind her. We need to talk. She didn't look up. About what? I want to transfer the deed To you. Now she looked up. What? I want to sell you the ranch for $1. Make it legally yours. Eva stood, wiped her hands on her apron. Why? Because if it's yours, Marcus can't claim it. He's coming after me, not you. That's not true. He'll challenge it. Maybe, but it gives us a chance. Eva shook her head. I can't accept that. Why not? Because it's not mine, it's yours. Your father left it to you. And I'm giving it to you. Why? Silas took a breath. Because you belong here. And I don't. Eva's face crumpled. Don't say that. It's true. It's not. You do belong here. You just don't want to admit it. Silas looked away. I'm trying to help you, Eva. By running away. I'm not running away. I'm trying to save this place. By giving it to me and leaving. Yes. Eva stepped closer. And what about the debt? I can't pay that. We'll figure it out. Together. How you'll be in Colorado? I'll be here. Alone. The word alone echoed. Silas met her eyes. I'm not leaving yet. But you will. Probably. Definitely. She turned, walked toward the house. Silas followed. Eva, wait. She stopped, didn't turn around. I'm trying to do the right thing. Then stay. The word hung in the air. Stay. So simple. So impossible. I can't. Why not? Because I don't know how. Eva turned, tears streaming down her face. Then learn. And she walked inside, leaving him standing there, alone, again. That evening there was a knock at the door. Silas opened it, found Zeke Whitmore and 6 other men, all old, all veterans, all friends of his father. We heard what Marcus is trying to do, Zeke said. We're here to help. Silas stepped aside, let them in. They filled the kitchen. Eva made coffee. They sat around the table, talking, planning. One man, Samuel Briggs, pulled out a ledger. I kept records. From the war, from after. I have proof that Jonathan Redfield was a murderer. Documented, dated, signed. Another man, Jacob Finch, nodded. I was there when they dug up the bodies. I can testify to what we found. A third, Henry Cole, spoke up. Jonathan Redfield killed my brother. In 1864. Buried him on land that wasn't his. I never forgot. One by one they told their stories, gave their testimony, offered their help. And by the end of the evening Silas had 7 witnesses, 7 men willing to stand up in court and tell the truth. It wasn't enough to guarantee victory, but it was something. After they left, Eva and Silas sat on the porch, exhausted, relieved, hopeful. We might actually win this, Eva said. Maybe. You don't sound convinced. I'm not. We still have the debt, and even if we win in court, we have 70 days to raise $3,600. How much have we saved? Oh, 220. So we need 3,380 more. Yes. Eva leaned back, closed her eyes. We can't do it. We have to try. How? Silas thought. We sell more cattle. We have 23 head. We can sell 15. Keep 8 for breeding. How much will that bring? Maybe 800, if we're lucky. What else? Timber. We cut and sell every tree on the north section. How much? Maybe 500. That's 1,300. We're still 2,000 short. Silas rubbed his face. I know. They sat in silence. Then Eva said, what if we ask the town for help? What? What if we hold a fundraiser? Tell people what's happening. Ask them to contribute. Why would they? Because they knew your father. Because they know what Marcus is trying to do. Because people help people. Silas shook his head. I can't ask for charity. It's not charity, it's community. It's the same thing. No, it's not. Eva stood. Your father helped people his whole life. He lent money, he gave work, he saved lives. Maybe it's time for them to give back. Silas wanted to argue, but he couldn't, because she was right. 2 weeks later the town gathered, at the church, for what Eva called the Ironwood Benefit. Silas hated the name, hated the idea, hated asking for help. But he did it anyway, because Eva asked him to, and he was learning that he'd do just about anything she asked. The church was packed. Farmers, ranchers, shopkeepers, women with children, old men who'd fought in the war. Everyone. Zeke Whitmore stood at the front, called for order. Folks, we're here tonight to help one of our own, Silas Harding, son of Josiah, who many of you knew, who many of you owed. Murmurs of agreement. Silas and Eva are facing a debt, $3,600, due in 67 days. If they can't pay, they lose the ranch, and Marcus Redfield gets it. Angry muttering. No one liked Marcus. We're asking for help, whatever you can give, $1, $5, whatever you can spare, to keep the Harding Ranch in the right hands. Silence. Then, a woman stood, Mrs. Carson, from the general store. Josiah Harding lent me $200 when my husband died, interest-free. I never paid him back. I'd like to pay it forward. She walked to the front, handed Zeke an envelope. Applause. Another man stood. Josiah hired my son when no one else would, gave him work, kept him out of trouble. I'll give $50. More applause. One by one. People stood, gave. Some gave money, some gave goods, cattle, timber, labor. By the end of the night, they'd raised $1,200 in cash and promises of another $800 in goods. $2,000 total, still short, but closer, much closer. After everyone left, Silas stood outside the church, staring at the stars. Eva came up beside him. You all right? I don't know. That's honest. I've never had people help me like that. Your father did. I'm not my father. No, you're better. Silas looked at her. How do you figure? Because you're letting people in. He never did. Not really. Silas thought about that, about the letters, about the loneliness, about the walls his father had built and never torn down. I don't want to be like him, Silas said quietly. Then don't. How? Eva took his hand. Stay. There it was again, that word, stay. I'm still here, aren't I? For now. But what about in 67 days when the debt is paid or not paid? What then? Silas didn't answer, because he didn't know. The next 6 weeks were brutal. Silas and Eva worked like demons, cutting timber, hauling logs, selling cattle, taking every job offered. Silas built a fence for Tom Briggs, fixed a roof for the widow Patterson, helped Samuel Briggs with his harvest. Eva sold vegetables, baked bread, took in more mending than any one person should. They counted every penny, saved every dollar. And slowly, the number grew. 2,000, 2,200, 2,500, 2,800, 3,000. With 3 weeks to go, they had $3,200. They needed $600 more. We're close, Eva said one night. Not close enough. We'll make it. How? I don't know, but we will. Silas wanted to believe her, but he couldn't, because he'd done the math, and the math didn't lie. 2 weeks before the debt was due, Silas got a visitor, Marcus Redfield, riding up to the house like he owned it. Silas stepped onto the porch, hand on his knife. Marcus dismounted, smiled. Harding. Redfield. I hear you've been working hard, raising money. What do you want? To make you an offer. One last time. I'm not selling. Hear me out. $10,000. Cash. Today. You walk away. Eva walks away. No debt. No court. No fighting. No. Marcus's smile faded. You're a fool. Probably. You can't win. Even if you raise the money. Even if you beat me in court. I'll find another way. I always do. Then I guess I'll have to keep fighting. Marcus stepped closer. I could make things very difficult for you. You already are. I could make them worse. Silas's hand tightened on his knife. Is that a threat? It's a promise. Silas took a step forward. Get off my land. Marcus held his gaze for a long moment, then smiled. 67 days, Harding. Good luck. He mounted his horse and rode off. Silas stood there, shaking, not from fear, from rage. Eva came out. What did he want? To scare me. Did it work? Silas looked at her. No, she smiled. Good. 1 week before the debt was due, a stranger came to the ranch. A woman, maybe 50, well-dressed, riding in a hired carriage. She stepped out, looked around, took in the house, the barn, the oak tree. Silas walked over. Can I help you? The woman turned, and Silas saw her eyes, blue-gray, familiar. Are you Silas Harding? I am. My name is Catherine Brennan. I'm Eva's sister-in-law, Michael's sister. Silas blinked. Eva never mentioned you. We haven't spoken in 3 years, since Michael died. I blamed her for not saving him. I was wrong. Why are you here? Catherine reached into her bag, pulled out an envelope. I heard what's happening. With the ranch, with the debt. I want to help." She held out the envelope. Silas took it, opened it. Inside was a bank draft for $1,000. Silas's knees nearly buckled. "I can't accept this." "Yes, you can. Michael loved Eva, and I should have been there for her when he died. I wasn't. This is how I make that right." Silas looked at the draft. $1,000. Combined with what they'd saved, it was enough. More than enough. He looked up. "Thank you," Catherine smiled. "Tell Eva I'm sorry, and that I'd like to see her. If she'll have me, I'll tell her." Catherine got back in the carriage and left. Silas stood there, holding the envelope, barely believing it. They'd done it. They'd actually done it. That night, Silas showed Eva the draft. She stared at it, then at him. "Catherine came here, yes. Why? To apologize, to help, to make things right." Eva's eyes filled with tears. "I thought she hated me." "She thought you hated her." "I don't." "Then tell her." Eva nodded, wiped her eyes, then looked at the draft again. "We have enough." "Yes." "We can pay the debt." "Yes." "We can keep the ranch." "Yes." Eva started laughing, crying, both, and Silas pulled her into his arms and held her, and for the first time since he'd arrived, he let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, he'd found his way home. The morning they paid the debt, the sky was the color of brushed steel, gray, heavy, promising rain that might never come. Silas stood on the porch with the bank draft in his hand. $4,200. More than enough, more than they dared hope for. Eva came out, stood beside him, not touching, but close, always close now. "You ready?" she asked. "No. Me neither. But we're going anyway." "Yes." They climbed into the wagon. Silas took the reins, and they rode into Cedarwood, together. The bank was a squat brick building on Main Street, between the saloon and the barber. Silas had never been inside, never needed to. Mountain men didn't have bank accounts. They had pelts and rifles, and that was enough. But today he walked through those doors, with Eva beside him. And the manager, a thin man named Walter Gaines, looked up from his desk. "Mr. Harding, Miss Brennan, I've been expecting you." "We're here to settle the debt." Walter nodded, pulled out a ledger, thick, dusty. "Josiah Harding, $3,800, plus interest. Total due $4,012. Silas set the draft on the desk. $4,200. Walter picked it up, examined it, then looked up, surprised. "You raised it?" "Yes." "I didn't think you would." "Neither did we." Walter stamped the ledger, signed a receipt, handed it to Silas. "Congratulations, Mr. Harding. The ranch is yours, free and clear." Silas took the receipt, stared at it. Those words, free and clear. He'd never owned anything free and clear. Never wanted to. Until now. They walked out into the gray morning. Ava stopped on the boardwalk, turned to him. "We did it. We did. I can't believe we did it." "Believe it." She laughed. A sound like water over stones, clear, bright. And Silas realized he wanted to hear that sound every day for the rest of his life, which terrified him, because he'd never wanted anything like that before, ever. They were loading supplies into the wagon when Marcus Redfield appeared, on horseback, flanked by two men, the same rough-looking men from before. Silas's hand went to his knife. Instinct. Marcus dismounted, slowly. His face was carved from stone. "I heard you paid the debt." "You heard right. Congratulations." The word dripped with venom. "Is that all you came to say?" "No, I came to tell you this isn't over." Silas stepped forward. "Yes, it is. You think beating me in court will stop me? I don't know what you think court is, but we haven't gone yet." Marcus smiled. Cold. "The hearing is tomorrow. Did you forget?" Silas's stomach dropped. No, he hadn't forgotten. He'd just been so focused on the debt, on surviving, that he'd pushed it to the back of his mind. "We'll be there. I'm sure you will, but it won't matter. I have witnesses, I have evidence, and I have a very good lawyer." "So do we." Marcus laughed. "Ambrose Fletcher. That drunk." Silas's fists clenched. "Watch your mouth. Or what you'll hit me. Go ahead. Give me a reason to have you arrested." Eva stepped between them. "We're done here, Marcus. Go away." Marcus looked at her, really looked at her, and for a moment, just a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Regret, or maybe longing. Then it was gone. You could have had a good life, Eva. With me. I offered. I know what you offered. And you chose him instead. I chose myself. Marcus's jaw tightened. He mounted his horse. See you in court, Harding. And rode off. Silas turned to Eva. What was that about? Nothing. Didn't sound like nothing. Eva climbed into the wagon. Marcus asked me to marry him 2 years ago, right after Josiah took me in. Silas felt something cold settle in his chest. What did you say? I said no. Why? Eva looked at him. Because I didn't love him, and because he didn't love me. He just wanted the land. You're sure? Yes. Silas climbed up beside her, took the reins. Good. Eva glanced at him. Good. Yes, good. Why good? Silas didn't answer, because he didn't know how to say it, didn't know how to explain the relief flooding through him, the possessiveness, the need to keep her close, so he just said, because. And Eva smiled, like she understood anyway. The courtroom was packed, every seat taken, people standing against the walls. Everyone in Cedarwood had come to watch. Silas sat at the front, with Ambrose Fletcher on his left and Eva on his right. Across the aisle, Marcus sat with his lawyer, a sharp-faced man in an expensive suit, brought in from San Antonio, all polish and confidence, the kind of man who won cases. Judge Harlan Finch entered. Everyone stood. The judge sat. Everyone else followed. Let's get started, Finch said. This is a petition to overturn the 1865 conviction of Jonathan Redfield and to restore the land seized from his estate to his son Marcus Redfield. Mr. Caldwell, you're up. Marcus's lawyer stood, smooth, practiced. Your Honor, we're here today to correct a grave injustice. 20 years ago, Jonathan Redfield was wrongfully convicted of murder, based on the testimony of one man, Josiah Harding, a man who had every reason to lie. What reason? Judge Finch asked. He wanted the land, and he got it, by bearing false witness against an innocent man. Ambrose shot to his feet. Objection. There's no evidence. Sit down, Mr. Fletcher. I'll hear the evidence. Then I'll decide. Ambrose sat, jaw tight. Caldwell smiled. I'd like to call my first witness. Carl Drucker. Carl Drucker was a nervous man. 60 years old, balding, sweating even though the room was cool. He took the stand, swore on the Bible, sat. Caldwell approached. Mr. Drucker, you knew Jonathan Redfield? Yes, sir. And Josiah Harding? Yes, sir. Did you ever see Jonathan Redfield commit any crimes? No, sir. Did Josiah Harding have any reason to want Jonathan Redfield's land? Well, I heard he did. Hearsay, Ambrose called out. Sustained, Judge Finch said. Stick to what you know, Mr. Drucker. Drucker nodded, wiped his forehead. I never saw Jonathan do anything wrong. He was a good man, a good neighbor. Thank you. Caldwell called 2 more witnesses. Both said the same thing. Jonathan was innocent. Josiah was a liar. The land should be returned. By the time they finished, Silas felt sick, because even though it was all lies, it sounded convincing. Then Ambrose stood. Your Honor, I'd like to call Ezekiel Whitmore. Zeke walked to the stand, tall, straight-backed despite his age, unflinching. He swore in, sat. Ambrose approached. Mr. Whitmore, you knew both Josiah Harding and Jonathan Redfield? Yes. Did you witness the crimes Jonathan Redfield was accused of? I did. The courtroom went silent. Can you describe what you saw? I was riding past the old Henderson place, fall of 1864. I saw Jonathan Redfield and 2 of his men. They were digging. I got closer, quiet-like, and I saw what they were burying. What was it? Bodies. A family. Man, woman, 2 children. The Hendersons. They'd gone missing 2 months prior. Gasps from the gallery. What did you do? I rode straight to Josiah, told him what I'd seen. He went to the sheriff. They brought a posse, dug up the bodies, found them right where I said. And Jonathan Redfield was arrested. Yes, tried, convicted, hanged, as he should have been. Caldwell stood. Objection. Mr. Whitmore has no proof, just his word. Zeke reached into his coat, pulled out a folded document, yellowed with age. This is the sheriff's report, dated October 15th, 1864, signed by Sheriff Tom Briggs, and witnessed by Josiah Harding. And me. It describes exactly what I just told you." He handed it to the judge. Finch unfolded it, read slowly. His expression didn't change, but something shifted in the room, a tightening, a held breath. Finch looked at Caldwell. "You got anything to counter this?" Caldwell hesitated. "Your Honor, that document is 20 years old. It could be forged." "Could be. But it's signed by a sheriff, a dead sheriff. Hard to forge a dead man's signature." "Still, it's only one document." Ambrose stood. "I have 6 more witnesses who saw the same thing, all willing to testify, all veterans, all men of honor." Finch nodded. "Call them, one by one." The old soldiers took the stand: Samuel Briggs, Jacob Finch, Henry Cole, Thomas Reed, William Grant. Each told the same story, with small variations, but the core was the same. Jonathan Redfield was a murderer. Josiah Harding told the truth. The land was legally seized, and by the time the last witness finished, Caldwell had nothing left. Judge Finch leaned back. "I've heard enough. This petition is denied. The conviction of Jonathan Redfield stands. The land remains with Silas Harding. Court adjourned." Bang, gavel, done. The courtroom erupted. Cheers, applause, people rushing forward to shake Silas's hand, to clap him on the back, to tell him his father would be proud, but Silas couldn't hear them. All he could hear was the blood rushing in his ears. All he could see was Eva, smiling, crying, reaching for him, and he pulled her into his arms, right there, in front of everyone, and held her, while the town celebrated around them. Outside, Marcus Redfield stood by his horse, watching, his face unreadable. Silas walked over, slowly. Marcus looked at him. "Congratulations." "Thank you. You won." "Yes." "But this isn't over." Silas shook his head. "Yes, it is. Let it go, Marcus." "Why should I?" "Because holding on to hate will kill you. I know. I did it for 34 years. Marcus's jaw worked. "He took everything from me." "No, he didn't. Your father did that, when he killed those people. Josiah just told the truth." "That's not how I see it." "Then maybe you need to see it differently." Marcus mounted his horse, looked down at Silas. "You're not like him, your father. You're softer." "Maybe. Or maybe I'm just tired of fighting." Marcus nodded. "So am I." And he rode away, for the last time. The next 6 months passed in a blur of work and quiet joy. Silas and Eva rebuilt the ranch, not just the buildings, but the life around them. They expanded the garden, planted an orchard, apple trees, peach trees, a small vineyard of muscadine grapes. They repaired the barn, built a new chicken coop, added a smokehouse. Silas built furniture, tables, chairs, a new bed frame, because the old one creaked. And Eva said it was embarrassing when Catherine visited, which made Silas laugh. Because since when did he care what people thought? Since Eva. That's when. Eva started teaching. The town women came to the ranch once a week to learn gardening, preserving, cooking. She taught them how to make soap, how to can vegetables, how to turn a barren patch of dirt into food, and they loved her for it, called her a blessing, said Josiah had known what he was doing when he brought her here. Silas agreed, though he didn't say it out loud. Not yet. One evening, 6 months after the trial, Silas found Eva in the garden, kneeling in the dirt, planting something. He walked over. "What are you doing?" She looked up. "Planting roses. For your mother." Something broke inside him. "You didn't have to do that." "I know, but I wanted to. She deserves to be remembered." Silas knelt beside her, took the trowel. "Let me help." They worked in silence, side by side, planting, watering, covering the roots with dark earth. When they finished, Eva sat back, wiped her hands on her apron. "Your father used to do this, every year. Plant something new, for someone he'd lost. I didn't know that. He didn't talk about it, but I watched. The oak tree was for your mother. The mesquite by the barn was for Lily. The wildflowers by the fence were for Sarah." Silas looked around the property, at all the things growing, all the life, and realized his father had been building a living memorial to everyone he'd loved and lost. "What should I plant?" Silas asked quietly. "For him." Eva smiled. "What do you think?" Silas thought. Then cedar. He loved the smell of cedar. "Then we'll plant a cedar." They planted it the next day, at the head of Josiah's grave. A small sapling, barely 3 feet tall, but it would grow, given time, given care, and Silas vowed to tend it every day, for as long as he lived. Catherine Brennan came back, 3 months after her first visit. This time she stayed a week. She and Eva talked for hours. About Michael, about grief, about forgiveness. Silas stayed out of it, gave them space. But he heard them sometimes, late at night, sitting on the porch, laughing, crying, healing. On the last day of Catherine's visit, she pulled Silas aside. "Thank you." "For what?" "For taking care of her, for giving her a home." "She gave me a home, too." Catherine smiled. "I can see that. You look at her the way Michael used to, like she's the only thing in the world that matters." Silas didn't deny it. Couldn't. "Does she know?" Catherine asked. "Know what?" "That you love her." Silas's heart stopped. Don't lie to me. I can see it." Silas looked away. "I haven't told her." "Why not?" "Because I don't know how." Catherine laughed. "Men, you're all the same. Just tell her. It's not that simple." "Yes, it is." After Catherine left, Silas tried, 3 times, to tell Eva how he felt. The first time, they were in the barn, feeding the horses, and Silas opened his mouth, but nothing came out. The second time, they were on the porch, watching the sunset, and he got as far as Eva, but she interrupted, pointing at a hawk circling overhead. And the moment was gone. The third time, they were in the kitchen, making supper, and Silas tried again. "Eva, I need to tell you something." She looked up, waiting, and he panicked. "We're out of flour." She blinked. "That's what you needed to tell me." "Yes, we should. Get more. Tomorrow." Eva shook her head, smiling. "You're terrible at this." "At what?" "Whatever it is you're trying to say." And she went back to cooking, leaving Silas standing there, feeling like an idiot. It took Zeke Whitmore to fix it. The old man showed up one afternoon, unannounced, found Silas fixing a fence. "You look miserable," Zeke said. "I'm fine." "Liar." Silas set down his hammer. "What do you want, Zeke?" "To knock some sense into you." "About what?" "Eva." Silas's defenses went up. "What about her?" "You love her." "That's none of your business." "You're right, it's not, but I'm making it my business, because you're acting like a damn fool." "How so?" "You've been here 9 months. You've saved the ranch, beat Marcus, paid the debt, and you still haven't told that woman how you feel." Don't lie to me, boy. I'm too old for lies. You love her. She loves you. Everyone in town can see it, except apparently you two." Silas sat down on a fence post. "What if I tell her and she doesn't feel the same? Then you'll know, and you can move on." "I don't want to move on." "Then tell her. It's not that simple." Zeke sighed, sat down beside him. "Your father made a lot of mistakes, Silas, but his biggest one was letting fear keep him from the people he loved. Don't make the same mistake." "I'm not afraid." "Yes, you are. You're terrified. Because if you let her in, really let her in, you can't run away anymore." The words hit like a fist, because they were true, all of them. That night, Silas made a decision. He was going to tell Eva, tomorrow, first thing. No more excuses, no more fear, just honesty. But when tomorrow came, everything changed. A rider appeared at dawn. Young man, maybe 20, riding a lathered horse. He pulled up at the gate, stumbled off, nearly fell. Silas ran over. "What's wrong?" "Fire, at the Briggs place. They need help." Silas didn't hesitate. "Eva." She came running. "What is it?" "Fire at Tom Briggs's ranch. I'm going to help." "I'm coming with you." "No, stay here." "Silas, please, I need you safe." Eva's face softened. "Be careful." "I will." He mounted Ash and rode hard toward the Briggs ranch. The fire was massive, flames reaching into the sky, black smoke blotting out the sun. Tom Briggs's barn was gone. The house was next. Men were already there. Bucket brigade, pulling water from the well, throwing it on the flames, barely making a dent. Silas jumped into line, grabbed a bucket, started hauling. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher. The heat was unbearable. But they kept going. Because that's what you did. You saved what you could, and mourned what you couldn't. By midday, the fire was out. The barn was gone. The house was saved. Barely. Tom Briggs stood in the yard, covered in soot, staring at the wreckage. Silas walked over. "I'm sorry, Tom." "Not your fault." What happened? Don't know. Lightning, maybe. Or a spark from the forge. You got insurance. Tom laughed, bitter. No. Couldn't afford it. What will you do? Rebuild. What else can I do? Silas nodded. We'll help. You don't have to. I know, but we will. Tom's eyes welled up, but he didn't cry, just nodded. Thank you. Silas rode home as the sun set, exhausted, filthy, every muscle screaming. When he got to the ranch, Ava was waiting on the porch. She ran to him. Are you hurt? No, just tired. And Tom? He's all right. Lost the barn, but the house is safe. Ava helped him down from the horse, led him inside, ran a bath. Silas sat in the tub, hot water turning black with soot. Eva brought him coffee, sat on the floor beside the tub. You could have died today. But I didn't. You could have. Eva, don't. Don't tell me it's fine, because it's not. Every time you leave, every time you go out there, I wonder if you'll come back. Silas looked at her. Really looked at her. At the fear in her eyes. The love. And he realized he'd been an idiot, waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect words, when all he needed to do was tell the truth. I love you. The words fell into the silence. Simple, honest, terrifying. Eva stared at him. What? I love you. I've loved you for months. Maybe since the first day. I don't know. But I know I can't keep pretending I don't. Eva's eyes filled with tears. You mean that? Yes. Why didn't you tell me? Because I'm a coward. Because I didn't know how. Because I was afraid. Of what? Of this. Of you saying no. Of losing you. Eva stood, walked to the tub, knelt beside it, and kissed him. Soft, gentle, perfect. When she pulled back, she was smiling. I love you too, you idiot. Silas laughed. A real laugh, full and free. You do? Yes, I have for months. I thought you knew. How would I know? Because I've been trying to tell you, but you're terrible at listening. I'm terrible at a lot of things. Yes, but I love you anyway. And she kissed him again. They were married 3 months later, in the spring, under the oak tree, with the whole town watching. Eva wore a simple white dress. Catherine had sent from Dallas. Silas wore his best shirt, which still wasn't very good, but Eva said he looked handsome, so he believed her. Zeke Whitmore officiated, because the preacher was sick, and because Zeke had married half the couples in town anyway. Do you, Silas Harding, take this woman to be your wife? I do. Do you, Evangeline Brennan, take this man to be your husband? I do. Then by the power vested in me by being old and not giving a damn, I pronounce you husband and wife. Kiss her boy. And Silas did, while the town cheered, and Eva laughed. Winter came, soft and cold. The first snow Silas had seen in Texas, just a dusting, but enough to make everything look clean, new. He stood on the porch, watching the flakes fall. Eva came out, wrapped in a shawl, stood beside him. It's beautiful. Yes. You miss it. The mountains. Silas thought about it, about Colorado, about the snow and the silence and the solitude, about the life he'd left behind. No. You sure? Yes. Everything I need is right here. Eva smiled, leaned into him. Good, because I'm not letting you go. That night. Eva told him. They were in bed, the fire burning low, the room warm and quiet. Silas, I need to tell you something. What? I'm pregnant. Silas froze. What? I'm pregnant. About 3 months. Silas sat up, stared at her. You're sure? Yes. How long have you known? A month. Maybe more. I wanted to be sure before I told you. Silas didn't know what to say. A baby. A child. His child. Are you happy? Eva asked quietly. Silas looked at her, at this woman who'd saved him, who'd given him a home, a life, a reason to stay. Yes, I'm happy. You're sure? Yes. And he pulled her close, held her, and thought about his father, about Lily, about all the things Josiah had lost, and vowed. This child would never feel abandoned. This child would always know it was loved. This child would have everything Silas and Josiah never did. A home, a family, a future. The baby was born in late summer. A girl. Dark hair, blue-gray eyes. Perfect. They named her Sarah. After Eva's mother. And Lily. After Silas's sister. Sarah Lily Harding. Silas held her for the first time. Tiny. Fragile. Impossibly real. And he wept. Not from sadness, but from joy. From relief. From the overwhelming knowledge that he'd finally found what he'd been running from his whole life. Purpose. 1 year later. A woman came to the ranch. Old. Maybe 60. Riding in a wagon. Alone. She stopped at the gate. Looked at the house. At the oak tree. At the clothes hanging on the line. At the smoke rising from the chimney. Silas walked over. "Can I help you?" The woman turned, and Silas saw her eyes. Blue-gray. Familiar. "I'm looking for Josiah Harding." Silas's heart stopped. "He's dead. Died 2 years ago." The woman's face crumpled. "I'm too late." "Who are you?" The woman reached into her bag, pulled out a silver necklace, with a pendant, engraved with a single letter, L. "My name is Lily." Silas stood there, unable to move, unable to breathe. Lily, his sister, found at last. "How did you find us?" "I've been looking. For 20 years. Ever since I remembered who I was, where I came from. But I couldn't find the ranch. Until last week. Someone in San Antonio told me about the trial. About the Harding Ranch in Cedarwood." Silas looked at the necklace, the same one Eva wore. "That's yours. My father gave it to me before I left. I've kept it all this time. Come inside, please." Lily hesitated, then nodded, climbed down from the wagon, followed Silas into the house. Eva was in the kitchen, nursing Sarah. She looked up, saw Lily, saw the necklace. Her eyes went wide. "Lily?" "Yes." Eva stood, tears streaming down her face. "We thought you were dead." "I almost was, many times, but I survived." Eva walked to her, hugged her, tight. "Welcome home." They talked for hours. Lily told them everything. The man who took her wasn't her father. He was a slaver. He took her south, sold her into captivity. She escaped when she was 16, lived on the streets, forgot her name, forgot where she came from. Until one day, a woman showed her kindness, helped her remember, helped her heal, and she'd been searching ever since. "I thought he'd still be here," Lily said quietly. "Josiah. I thought I'd find him, tell him I was sorry, that I forgave him." "He never stopped looking for you," Silas said. "He spent everything he had, 30 years, searching." Lily wept. "I wish I'd come sooner." "You're here now. That's what matters." Lily stayed, not in the house, but in the small cabin Silas built for her, behind the orchard. She helped Eva with the garden, taught the town women how to weave, became part of the community, part of the family. And slowly, she healed. Epilogue. 5 years later. Silas stood on the porch, watching the sunset. Sarah was 5 now, running through the yard, chasing chickens, laughing. Eva was in the garden, with Lily, planting something new, always planting, always growing. The ranch was thriving. The debt was long paid. Marcus Redfield had moved to California and never came back. The town had grown. New families, new children, new life. And every Sunday, the whole community gathered at the Harding Ranch for supper, for stories, for fellowship. Silas had become what his father never could. A man who let people in, a man who stayed, a man who built something worth keeping. That night, after everyone left, after Sarah was asleep, after the dishes were washed and the fire banked, Silas and Eva sat on the porch, like they always did, coffee in hand, stars overhead. "Do you ever regret it?" Eva asked. "Regret what?" "Staying, giving up the mountains." Silas looked at her. "Never. Not once." "You're sure?" "Yes. The mountains were where I was running to. This is where I was running from. And it turns out, what I was running from was exactly what I needed." Eva smiled. "Your father would be proud." "Maybe. I hope so. I know so." They sat in silence. Then Eva said, "I'm pregnant again." Silas turned. "What?" "I'm pregnant. About 2 months." Silas laughed, pulled her close, kissed her. "How many are we going to have?" "As many as God gives us." "Good." And as Silas sat there, holding his wife, listening to his daughter sleep, knowing his sister was safe, he thought about the clothes on the line, the smoke from the chimney, the light in the window, all the things that had called him home. And he realized, home wasn't a place. It was people. It was love. It was staying when it would be easier to run. It was choosing connection over solitude. It was building a life that mattered, not just to him, but to everyone around him. And for the first time in his life, Silas Harding was exactly where he belonged.